Got able to the mic. To the mic.
Okay, we're good.
All right, let's go ahead and call the order, please. We'll go ahead and start off this evening with the first item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. Yeah, we actually have the two different sets. So the first one will be the open session. Oh. Yep. We have three sets. I stand corrected. Let's start with March.
This is Leslie. I move to approve the March open session meeting minutes.
Sorry.
This is Amy. I'll second that.
Okay, thanks, ladies. Any other questions or further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Now let's move on to the May 6th open session minutes.
This is Craig. I move that we approve the May 6th.
Jared, I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other questions or further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. And next up, the May 6th closed session minutes. Reminder for the board, those will not be in your binders. They are posted online.
This is Jen. Motion to approve the May 6th closed session board minutes. Elizabeth, second.
Thank you, ladies. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay. All right, next up, we have support group update. Support group update.
Yep, I received information from Nicole Burton, very brief, just that they're in the process of planning and starting to form their committees for the next year and assessing economically how things went this year for them so that they can determine what events and different activities they'll be able to support. So we should hear more from them in the months to come on that.
Thank you. Next up is athletic boosters.
Can you hear me? Hello? Yeah. It's been a busy, weird spring, but it's been an awesome spring in the athletic world. We have 2 state championships that I want to recognize. Unfortunately, we couldn't bring them here. Being summertime, a lot of them have graduated on vacation. But our women's soccer team won the 2A state championship, went undefeated. As well as our men's golf team just won back-to-back. We're not going to count COVID year last year, but they have won back-to-back state championships as well. I met with both coaches about 2 weeks ago to start planning the rings. So we're hopefully going to get the rings in midsummer. Hopefully when we get back up and running this fall, we can do a pep rally and recognize those players, or at least the ones that were on the team last year. They're still in school, recognize them at the pep rallies this fall. Other than that, we have 2 teams still going. We have our track team, those who made regionals. They will be competing this weekend. And then our women's tennis, we have 2 young women that will be competing this weekend as well. The baseball team finished up their season last week and missed the playoffs by 1 spot. Unfortunately, this year they cut all the playoffs down a little bit, and we missed by 1 spot in the wild card. But they had a great season. They went 10-4, so they lost their first 4 games and came back and won 10 straight. So they had a great season. Other than that, it's like I said, it's been a weird but great year. Hopefully, we'll find out about Wells Fargo Cup in the coming weeks once things settle down, and we're looking forward to hopefully having a regular sports world coming up in August.
Matt, just briefly, could you share with the board the change in the conference that we're going to expect this fall?
Yeah, so I don't know if we've talked about that, but our high school is changing conferences. Every 4 years, they do a realignment. Typically, they go off of the ADM numbers. Well, this year, they got a committee together, a subcommittee of the NCHA, and they looked at Do we go by ADM numbers, or what else do we look at? So they came up with an equation that not only looks at ADM numbers, but looks at how well you do in your Wells Fargo Cup the past 3 years, as well as your free and reduced lunch numbers, which unfortunately both did not go in our favor. We don't have free and reduced lunch, so we got taxed with the highest amount for that, as well as our Wells Fargo Cup the past 3 years was a first place, second place, and second place. So we got taxed pretty hard on that. So we are moving from a 2A to a 3A school. There was nothing we can do about that. That was not anything that you could go to the state and petition. So we have been put in a 3A conference. So we will be competing with the Rowan and Ferris County schools next year. With that being said, I think we're going to be very competitive. What we have made a decision, we are going to go independent for our football team. So we are not going to be competing with those schools for football. We are going to make our own schedule from year to year until we feel it is appropriate to jump back into that conference or next realignment. So we made our own schedule. So this upcoming year, we're just about finished with the schedule. We'll be competing against CSD, Pine Lake Prep, Price King, Union Academy, Mountain Island Charter, a bunch of the schools that are like-minded like us. I'm really excited about this. It's a good opportunity for our kids. If you look at a lot of those schools, they don't have JV programs or 9 through 12, which is what we will probably end up being with our numbers. But that doesn't mean that a ninth grader should be afraid of going out there, because every school we play against is going to be similar to us. So I'm excited about our football team being able to get back to that varsity level this upcoming year and be competitive in every game we have. Any questions?
No questions. Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda, we have the school and state update. Ms. Stein?
First off, I would like for the board to introduce to you our new assistant principal at the middle school, which is Mr. Tyler Mavity. Welcome aboard, Mr. Mavity. So Mr. Mavity will be under the good tutelage of Dr. Graham and joins us from the administrative team at Myers Park. So we have a chance to meet him at the end. I want to give a huge shout out, and it's not often that I get to do this, but one of the people that helped to plan graduation is in this room, which is Miss Melissa Skyer, along with Leslie McFarland and Christine Casillas. Little known fact, not a fun fact, actually an anti-fun fact. They planned like 3 graduation ceremonies last year, and every time we thought we were heading down one path, it would change, and they would do complete plans, not just like, hey, let's see how it turns out, complete plans. And one of those at one point was to have our graduation ceremony at the Atrium Ballpark in Kannapolis, and it was phenomenal. Mr. Smith hosted, gave a great speech. His lovely wife was selected as the teacher speaker, also did great. It was fantastic. The fireworks were better than sincerely most of the fireworks I grew up with as a kid. Like, I'm like, when did these things stop? Like, they just kept going. It was awesome. The kids seemed to really enjoy it, and a lot of that was due to the good planning. And what my son, 2 of the guys who was in his wedding said, "This is fantastic. They have nachos and it's outdoors." I'm like, this is, so it was. I think everybody felt like it was probably coming back from COVID as well. Mr. Smith, is there anything you'd like to say about graduation?
For Mrs. Skyer, Mrs. Casillas, and all the organization, the planning, a lot of it being much later in the game than what would normally take place. But if anybody that was there, it was just an exhale of celebration, I think, by the entire LNC community. Really cool thing about this graduating class, a lot of them were the last graduates. So we had a ton of alumni that were there. So it literally felt like just this huge celebration of LNC, and it was just a special way to close out a school year like
Mr. Smith. And to, the other thing is we don't need to give a shout out. A lot of the high school staff were on board to help check people in, get people to where they needed to go, help with a multitude of things. So at the end of the school year, which was a pretty intense school year, it was nice to see so many of them being able and willing to help with that. So appreciate that. Excited again. Obviously we are a school of service. So one of the things we try to be is a good steward in the community. We held a vaccination clinic on June 2nd. for anybody 12 on up, not just for our staff and their children, but for the entire community. And well over 200 people came and were vaccinated on that day, and there will now be a follow-up clinic as a result of that. Another service that we're doing, actually we got two more. We're doing a rabies vaccination clinic coming up in mid-June. We've teamed with the Mecklenburg Animal Control to do that. So there's an area up here that is accessible for some of our neighborhoods that are a little bit more impoverished to have access to helping their pets. And we also have partnered again with the One More Neighborhood Initiative, which is an initiative to help support Huntington Green. If you guys are unfamiliar, our elementary school is right next to probably one of the most impoverished neighborhoods. We're actually next to two, because we're next to Waymer, which is right over here, and then Huntington Green, and those are the two probably neediest neighborhoods in Huntersville. And so when we have opportunity, the vaccination clinics serve that population. And now One More Neighborhood, we're holding their soccer camp. And last year, not last year, COVID, previous to that, they did a week-long soccer camp where some of our students volunteered as well. And that serviced over 250 kids that are in that neighborhood throughout that week. And it's a free camp for their families. As many of you pay for camps for your little ones, you know, free camp, good thing. And also, you know, a great way to connect with our local community. So that'll be happening again. I do want to give a shout out to Miss Rebecca Shipman. She has been asked to serve on the NCDHHS Advisory Committee, specifically as it has to do with helping them plan for future testing in schools. She was identified as somebody on the forefront of doing a really good process that was successful. And so she will be helping to review and provide input on implementation plans and figuring out how to get K-12 testing materials out to all schools in North Carolina, and specifically ensuring a focus on equity of promotion for all NC students, schools, and communities. So nice to have representation from our school on that. And then lastly, other good news, North Carolina is celebrating the 25th anniversary of the legislation that made charter schools possible. So for many of you who have not been on the board for as long and maybe not be up on charter history, Lake Norman Charter, there were only 100 schools that were allowed to be charter schools to begin with. Lake Norman Charter was in the second year. So there weren't very many in year one. So we are one of the oldest that are around. And there is an invitation, you'll see that in here. There's going to be a large press conference. The Speaker of the Senate will be there. The Lieutenant Governor, the National Director of the Charter School Association will be there. They're going to have all kinds of different folks, the state superintendent, and everybody is invited to that. But what I'm very excited about is twofold. One, we have been asked to have one of our alumni speak at that. So one of our past alumni, his name is Tyler Wyckoff. He is currently getting his master's. He went to Creighton and he got a degree in neuroscience, and now he's in his master's in public health policy. I'm not saying that right, but that's what it's going to be. He's going to be in public health policy, and he's in the second year of that. And he's going to be speaking basically about his experience in charter schools and how being a student here at Lake Norman Charter helped him to get on the footing that he is moving forward with. So he will be covered as part of that press conference. And secondly, Ms. Holland will also be in Raleigh because she has been named as a finalist for the Charter School Principal of the Year. So good luck to Ms. Holland, and excited to have such good representation at such an important event. Yeah, I know, it's good. This is so much better than last June. Everybody remember last June? So much better. So yeah, it's been much more exciting. So good luck, Michelle.
All right, I would just like to say, for those that were involved in the graduation planning, phenomenal job. And to see the students' faces when the fireworks going off and they pan to the night vision camera, I mean, that's priceless. Awesome job. Thank you. All right. Next up, speaking of awesome jobs and fun times, financial update.
All right, it's that time of the year again. So tonight I am bringing for your approval the 21-22 budget. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys, I think you've all received this deck and hopefully had a chance to look over it. Please stop me if you have any questions going through. I'm going to do a very high level summary. I just kind of wanted to give you a macro environment. Coming out of COVID or during COVID, we really didn't know what state revenue was going to look like, what tax revenue was going to look like. And luckily, right now, economists are saying that it's not as dire as we once thought it was, which is good. It's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out over the next few years. But for the next year or two, I don't foresee any heavy budget cuts or shortfalls in. So in regards to school funding in particular, right now, we have not heard any word from the state in regards to a budget for the 21-22 school year. I keep up with the news on this, but last week, the Senate and House did come to a spending number. So hopefully the Senate is going to present a budget next week. That budget, I am very doubtful is going to pass before June 30th. So I don't think we're going to have a state budget by the end of this fiscal year. I am on monthly calls with EPI, and Alexa Strauss, who is the chief financial officer, recommended a 1 to 2% budget increase for planning for this year. It could be more. She doesn't think it will be less. So the school kind of went that route, very conservative, until we hear more about what it's going to look like. Another thing we should note is that Mecklenburg County did approve its 21-22 budget. We will see about a 1% increase in per pupil funding. I'm sure you guys have been aware of what's going on between CMS and Mecklenburg County. At this time, we don't think that's going to impact late enrollment charges funding. Shannon and I are staying on top of that, but from what we've researched so far, there's not going to be any cut to charter schools as a result of what's going on. The final two things are the ESSER funding, so the COVID relief coming from the federal government. So for ESSER 2, we received $180 per pupil, which rounded out to about $400,000. And then ESSER 3, we received $400 per pupil, which is going to be just shy of $900,000. I am currently working with our administrative team and Shannon in drafting our plan and application for that. We will submit that hopefully in the next few weeks. We wanted to wait to see what we got from ESSER 3 so that we could do a comprehensive plan. And because this is going to be heavily monitored, it's going to be audited, so we wanted to make sure we had all of our ducks in a row. So now that we know the amount, we have some things that we want to target. The next step is starting to draft that application and get that submitted. So here, especially, we've got quite a few new board members. So I just wanted to give you guys a historical look on what state funding and local funding has looked like over the last 5 years. As you will see, there were some big jumps, and those happened when there was a huge initiatives over Teachers Act. Usually it's a steady, anywhere between 1 to 3%. And just one other thing to note, I only put CMS on there because 87% of our students come from CMS, so that's really where the meat and potatoes of our local funding come. So, when Rick was my treasurer, we went through a huge overhaul of our compensation policy. One of the things our staff asked for was more transparency. They wanted to be able to have a salary schedule so that they could predict what their salary would look like year over year. So we did a lot of work back in 2018 to put together a salary schedule for all of our certified staff. Since then, we have not touched the salary schedule itself. We've done step increases every year, but we have not made any COLA adjustments to the actual salary schedule. One of the reasons for that is because we had just refinanced and taken on new debt. We didn't know what state local funding was going to look like. So we were adding a new school, we were adding new grades. We really didn't have a good baseline of where we could be. So now all of that has kind of played out. We really think, I went to the finance committee this year and asked if we could do a COLA adjustment to the salary schedule. You guys in your deck should have received a comparison of Lake Norman charter salaries to CMS and Lake Norman charter salaries to the state salary schedule. Oh, sorry. So if you took a look at that, we are off quite a bit from CMS. We recruit mostly from CMS. So it was definitely time to do something. It helps us with recruiting, it helps with retention, and honestly, it's just the right thing to do. So in the budget I'm presenting tonight, you will see a 2% adjustment to the salary schedule, which we would make effective on August 1st. And then teachers would then get their step increase in December, as we've traditionally done. For staff that's not on a salary schedule, we would do a 2% COLA adjustment in August and then a 1% increase in December, which is in line with what we do. Any questions?
Maybe just something to add. So, yeah, so we talked about this as a finance committee. We recommend 2%. The gap continues to grow. In that sense. Staff. We are playing this a little bit conservative because we want to see what's going to happen from a budget standpoint. But once those decisions are made, we'll probably come back to the table, take another look at this and revisit it, and then we'll come back to the board and try to make these recommendations. Okay. This 2% in my mind is a bit conservative, but taking a sort of a cautious approach given the budget situation.
And so Haley, just so I'm clear, the 2% the teachers will see starting August, call it in their paychecks, and then traditional salary increase. Thank you.
Do you know the history of, does CMS typically do a COLA every year of 2%? Like, will we just maintain our current gap with a 2%?
So CMS has not made an adjustment. So when we made our adjustment in 2018, the 2019, 2020 salary schedule. So all that work we did kind of got negated right away. They have not made any adjustments since then. One of the big fights right now is that if you don't fund us at the levels, we cannot pay our teachers and want salary increase. So in all honesty, I don't know what CMS is going to do at this point until the county district argument plays out. So I will tell you, we will never be able to pay what CMS pays. We're funded differently. CMS is funded on positions. We're funded per pupil. And there's other non-monetary benefits our teachers and staff have by working here. But money matters. So I think as long as we're always keeping an eye on this, and this is something I do every year, it's like, where are they at? Where are we? I'm always trying to just stay on it and stay within a certain percentage. But yeah, at this time, I couldn't tell you. If they do increase, we should see some of that in our local review. Should get some of that should trickle down.
Well, I'm glad to hear Jared's remarks because it sounds like it will be worth looking at.
Well, and
About striking the right balance, but again, we need to take a little bit more cautious approach.
yeah, the budget is the big what if, and I really appreciate Jared and the finance committee being open to continue to look at this depending, because there has been some talk in Raleigh about some teacher incentives, in the wake of COVID, realizing the work that they've done. So, but it's very hard to know how that's all going to shake out. And so, again, needing to do something to acknowledge that, but also being willing to relook at that is going to be much appreciated by staff and the right thing to do.
Any other
Haley.
questions?
Yes, I know we talked about this in the finance committee, but I think it'd be good context for the rest of the board, because one of the questions that came up was how we compare to other charter schools.
Oh, yeah. So just like Lake Norman Charter, other schools do not publish their salary schedule. So I know most of our peer charter schools pay from the state salary schedule, which is what I shared with you, and then they provide some sort of local supplement. I don't know what the local supplement is. So I really couldn't give you an apples comparison of us compared to a Pinelake Prep or to a Union Academy. I just don't have that data.
Could say in talking to our contemporaries without calling out specific schools, there are some contemporaries that I know for a fact are below us, and then there are a couple that are much more near where we're at when it comes to, and we have some that we, some charter schools aren't in our same contemporary area. So I would say about two of them are in our striking distance, and I wouldn't know the exact numbers, but in having conversation that seems to be, and two are below us, one considerably.
I know you said that but the opposite happened.
The good thing is as Haley alluded to, our principals and school in general, we try to have other incentives. So once people get here, I think they see the benefit in some of those things. But the truth of the matter is, Greg, you bring up a good point, and that is we continue to move more and more to a teacher shortage situation. And CMS is different from us back to the funding. They fund positions. So if they hire somebody with 25 years experience for an English opening or 2 years, the state is going to fund them at whatever they are for that. And that isn't how we get funded. And so that's what makes it complicated. And then they have the discretion of they front load their salary schedule. So if you go and look at theirs. But yeah, I think it's something we're going to have to continue to be mindful of, just because they may be needing to get creative as the shortage gets more.
Part of the decision-making process here is also about thinking, keeping that in mind, and striking that right balance. We'll come back and revisit this once some other decisions are made.
Can I go back with one of the questions? Not on compensation, but on the funding overview, with the American Rescue Plan and just the two federal relief packages, 2 of the 3 that you referred to. Are those funds spent? Are they done? Like, did that just cover just extra cleaning and COVID, or like how is there anything?
So the only funds we have spent so far was ESSER 1, which we received about just like shy of $100,000. ESSER 2 and 3, again, we've not submitted our application. So we've been allotted the funds, but they've not dropped the funds. Because I did want to, like, we've had all of our building principals, we've had Scott, we've had Juan work together on what do we want to do with this. We've never had this influx of money before. We want to be very strategic. How do we reach certain students? What improvements can we do to our facilities for better air quality? What technology needs do we have? The nice thing is that these funds do not have to be used until September of 2024. So we're literally looking at a 3-year strategy on spending this funding. So it will probably include some extra cleaning. It's going to include working with Scott. What can we do to get our cafeterias back in play? What can we do for enrichment and intervention? What can we do with regards to facilities, improvements to our HVAC system? So that's kind of where we are, but it's going to be big. And we could have rushed and submitted an application, but I spoke with Shannon. It's just I didn't think that was the best strategy, because I just thought if we can know what we're getting from the third pot, we can take a better view at this and have a better plan, a 3-year plan.
Yeah, and what Haley would never say, because she's humble and wouldn't say that, there's a lot of coordination and there will be extreme overview on this. So that was another reason for taking it. And Haley's been taking the lead to help coordinate amongst all of the buildings to make sure that we do have a strategic plan on how to move forward. And some of the stuff, as an example, we're entering into a partnership with Novant Health to provide a certified mental health counselor to be on staff with us for the next couple of years to help meet the greater needs. Those types of partnerships take time. They had to run that all the way up through their side of things and then come back down to us. And so we have a call, I think tomorrow, to try to solidify what our memorandum of understanding and start to work on a contract. So for us to have gone faster, it was not only the best practice to wait and kind of have a cohesive plan, but to also allow some of those partnerships and things to come together. But we're excited about some of the things, some of the plans that the building principals and their staff have started to talk about, the ability to make some improvements that are a little larger, like some of our common space air conditioning units. You'll hear about those that are going to have better pathogen control and some things that, I mean, that are big ticket items that these COVID monies are going to allow us to be able to accomplish.
A lot of flexibility.
Flexibility, but a lot of screening. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so now time for the budget. So I just gave you guys an overview of revenue and expenditure budget assumptions. So you'll see a 1.5 increase in state revenue, 1% increase in local per pupil revenue. I put some campaign Elevate and Rise Together information in there for you guys. And then you will also see the federal COVID relief funds of about 1.3 million in the budget. That's going to be offset by an expense of the same amount, so it's not going to impact fund balance at all. On the expenditure side, we are looking to hire an EC teacher assistant to meet some IEP requirements. As Shannon just stated, these funds are going to be heavily scrutinized, and I humbly asked for a part-time financial assistant just to help the business office handle some clerical work. I run the gamut. Like I stuff checks to creating a budget. So just to free me up a little bit to handle some of these more, things that are going to take a little bit more effort work. We're looking to bring in someone up to 20 hours a week. A 2% COLA adjustment for all salary scheduled and non-salary scheduled staff beginning August 1st. And then a step for all teaching staff and a 1% increase for non-teaching staff to be awarded in December, which is typical of what we usually do. I went 8% increase in state retirement. I haven't seen these numbers yet, and a 5% increase in employee health care, but I just looked at historical data. Hoping those come in a little less, but I did want to go more on the conservative side. And about 415,000 in capital expenditures for our tech refresh, our CapEx, and a potential partnership with the town of Huntersville baseball. So here we go. So here's a good summary. I didn't go in the weeds. If you guys want more detail, I can send it. But I did share that with the finance committee. So we're looking at a total revenue of about 23 million, total expenditures of about 22 million. So a net surplus of 848. So if you go to the next slide, I just gave you some percentages of what each funding bucket looks like. As usual, state revenue is where most of our money comes from, followed by local. Federal is just higher this year because of ESSER. It's not usually that high. We usually only receive about 300,000 in federal revenue. Other revenue would be Knights Fund. No, sorry, we've got Knights Fund revenue, and then other revenue would be like clubs, Knights Kids, all of those other field trip accounts that we typically have in the year. On the expenditure side, big ticket items, salary and benefits, 67%, followed by rent and debt service. And then all the other categories are all less than 10. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I've got there. So this slide's really important. We created this, I think Rick and I did this a couple of years ago to give you guys a reconciled fund balance, because someone could look at that and say, you guys are dropping 850K to the bottom line, what's going on? We did want to reconcile it to a proper run rate because we've got about 375,000 in campaign contributions. So that's not a normal operating revenue. So backing that out, we're coming in just shy of about $500,000 fund balance, which gives us some wiggle room for those unexpected things. So yeah, so that's what we have here. This is just a quick comparison or analysis based upon the amended budget for 2021 to 21-22. I've kind of gone over most of the differences. Yeah, I don't think there's anything here. We've increased some things, like we've added some cyber liability insurance in response to COVID. We've just done a lot more things virtually, so we thought that was beneficial for the school to have some additional insurance in regards to cyber fraud. We've had increased fees in legal, unfortunately. We've added back the LNC day of service next year, so there's some expenditures there. But everything else I've kind of already gone over. One thing you will see is that we've added back some of the things we took away last year, like night kits and field trips and club. Like we removed all of those revenue and expenditures last year because of COVID. We're now adding them back because we plan to run this program again. So I present this slide so that you guys will know where we are and if we're meeting our investment obligations. So as part of our bond offering, LNC is required to maintain 45 days cash on hand as of June 30th. As you'll see with this budget, even with the investment portfolio of the $2 million being taken out, we're going to get 120 days cash on hand. Even though it says 45 days, we aim for 75 because it helps us with our debt service coverage ratio, which you'll see on the next slide. And again, we have to be at 1.1 if we maintain 75 days cash on hand, and we're projected to be at 1.5. So we're easily meeting both of those requirements with the budget that we're presenting tonight.
Basic question. Just slide about the funds. Are we talking about
No, which fund? Sorry.
Balance.
No, fund balance is like our savings. Like Knights Fund is our campaign, capital campaign. Sorry. Right together.
Are we including any expected revenue from the 2 million portfolio balance?
I have not. And Rick actually asked me that question. I plan to do that with a first quarter budget amendment because I just don't even know what to project at this point. So I think when I come with the first quarter budget amendment, I'll have a better understanding of what that looks like, and we can add that.
Yeah, just to add to that, we did get the 2 million into the investment account. But they're not going to allocate that across the portfolio until July 1st because of some of the benchmarking that they do. They'll start July 1st, and then we're going to go back and revisit the how we kind of optimize the cash balance that we have while still maintaining and meeting the days cash on hand. So there's some other discussions that are going to be taking place on that, how we optimize that fund balance from an investment strategy standpoint.
Kelly, can you remind me when we're doing the projections for some of the benefits, what increase did we for like retirement? Yeah.
So
healthcare.
healthcare right now, the school pays 21.68% into the state retirement plan. So I projected an 8% increase of like 22, close to 23. And we were fortunate last year. They held the health premium, so we didn't see an increase. I'm pretty sure just with all of the COVID stuff, we're going to see an increase this year. So I budgeted about a 5% increase in state healthcare costs.
What's the increase?
Oh, the state
Yeah.
healthcare, 5.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I'm really shooting that line because I've heard nothing from the state yet. And usually we've got some sort of projection at this point, and we've got nothing. So I'm using historical data, but I don't know.
Yeah, so just for those who've been here a while, I've heard we get on the soapbox a few times, right? We get 1 to 2% overall state, but the benefits are jumping close to double digits every year, right? All we're doing is just dollars that are being out every single year. So I'll jump off the soapbox. And my knowledge listening, my plea to hopefully right size that. Yes, yes. Haley, just a question, just to make sure that we're all clear. So the next phase of Elevate is not in here from either an income or an expenditure standpoint, correct?
Correct. And I know you guys are gonna discuss some things tonight. That's not in here either, because I didn't want to make a motion that the board was gonna approve it. I'll go back and add that as a budget amendment. We can fund it, but I'll go back and add that budget amendment, 4-1.
Just want to voice my support for the part-time finance position. On the higher ed side, I can just attest to the toll that it takes to plan, distribute, and then report on those funds, right? We've had the same 3 buckets of funds. Our timeline has been a little bit more condensed than that. It is an enormous lift. I appreciate all that you do. I just wanted to offer that to my fellow board members. It is worth that. You're going to need it.
Any other questions on the budget? Need a formal motion to approve said budget.
Move to approve, this is Jared. Move to approve the budget presented by Haley.
This is Leslie, I second.
Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, pause for a second while we work through technical difficulty. I know a good joke. I want to sing.
All right, why did the Scarecrow win an award? For being outstanding. Yay.
Nice, nice.
Hat tip to my niece.
All right. So something that is not on the agenda purposely. We have an outgoing for Stephanie Painter. So as is our tradition for our outgoing board members, we want to celebrate all the great accomplishments she's provided along the way. So Ms. Stein has a nice, beautiful plaque, and we're going to have a photo opportunity and all kinds of fun stuff. Maybe before we get there, just real quick, just want to personally say thank you. And you know, reflecting on this over the last couple of weeks, as we're putting this beautiful slide together, courtesy of Leslie, she did an awesome job organizing it. But one of the things that I thought about, Stephanie, was if you think about your journey on the board, you were integral part of Rise Together and the building that's sitting there, and the tens of thousands of students that are going to go through that over the lifetime. Incredible. I get chills just thinking about that. Equally, a huge part of Elevate. Out here, press box, next phase to come, right? And I know you'll be a part of that next phase. So I'm not good at this. Thank you. surprised. All right, so moving along, we will move to committee updates and global diversity and inclusion.
So I'm gonna go ahead and speak while he does this. So usually we just jump right in and go into kind of what we've accomplished in May and what we have to look forward to for July and August. So I wanted to kind of back up a bit because we have a slide that has our committee members on it. And given everything that everybody went through this past year with COVID, I think it's really important for us to acknowledge the committee members on global diversity and inclusion. Because this committee over the past year, despite everything that they were having to do as teachers, administrators, parents, and students, kept our global diversity and inclusion at the forefront because they knew just how important it was to the students and the teachers. So I just wanted to thank Shannon Stein. And from teacher development, we had our lead chairperson, which was Marian Rogalski. And for student development, our chairperson was Marcus Funches. Also, our team for teacher development subcommittee was Sadie DeVoe out of the elementary school, Bob Graham out of the middle school, Lori Hughes out of the middle school, Jimmy Aubrey out of the high school, Michelle Steffen out of UNCC, who was a parent, Natalie Brown and Allison Atwell, who are also parents. On the leadership team for the student development, we had Callie Blom out of the elementary school, Ashley Lockhart out of the middle school, Noelle Pointer, the high school, Joe Hack, who is a parent, Ernest Johnson, who is a high school student, Madison Dabney, high school student, and Tanmay Tangala, who is also a high school student. So I just think that all of these individuals on this committee deserve a round of applause because they did an amazing job this year. I also wanted to say we have 3 individuals that will be rolling off our committee. Bob Graham, who I've been told has been there since the very beginning of global diversity and inclusion. Noelle Pointer, who has been amazing with the students in the high school. Her commitment and passion for GDI just goes above and beyond. And also Michelle Steffen, who was a parent representative, has rolled off as well. So we will miss them, but we are so grateful for all that they brought to our committee and Ellen to the school. We are also excited to announce that Ms. Taylor Elkins will be joining our committee from the high school. So we are really looking forward to having her join our committee next year. And in terms of student representatives, we will be interviewing them and the Diversity Council will be bringing them forward. So we're looking forward to that. So thank you to all the committee members. So now rolling into May, what was accomplished in May and what we have coming up in July and August. In terms of teacher training development, the classroom strategies for equity and dialogue has been completed by Ms. Marianne Rogalski. So we are very excited about that and training will start for that in August. We also are going to have Marcus Funches share with everyone the admin book study on unconscious bias in schools that they've been working on throughout the year. And we'll also go into next year. So Marcus, it's all yours.
Microphone check. So yes, this year, starting in February, the admin team, we began a book study on unconscious bias in schools by Dr. Tracy Benson and Sarah Fireman. It was a way for us to sort of look at what was going on at LNC, what tools we could have to sort of better the learning environment for all students. So we've spent the past 5 months going through this book, having discussions, being vulnerable with one another to learn what we can do to put practices in place to help LNC take a step forward with diversity and inclusion at the school for all of our students. So what we're currently doing or in the process of this summer is looking at what issues that we can identify, what partnership we can do with GD&I committee to sort of help us take the next step forward in pretty much providing a safe environment for all here at LNC. So that's the book study in a nutshell.
As I said at the last meeting, I think we've always focused so much on like teacher development and the student development that it was really exciting to hear about what the admin was doing because they play such an important part in this school. So thank you guys for doing that. So this past month in May, well, I guess last month, in the high school, the students did the women's panel. They also completed the new application for the Diversity Council. And so they are excited to be having the kids fill that out come the new school year. And word out and about, I ran into Ernest Johnson the other day at an event, and he proceeded to tell me how many people they have that are very interested in becoming a part of this. So we're really excited that this council is growing and that it's also growing within the high school as well. In terms of the middle school, they focused on abled bodies and also they developed a diversity video that we're going to be sharing with you as we complete our discussion of the committee report. And also at the elementary school, they also did differently abled. They also had the children's theater come in and hip hop, rhyme, fairy tales. They did a section on Uniquely Me, which we also saw spread across the middle school, and you'll see in the video as well. They are constantly updating their electronic library with the leadership of Ms. Callie Blum. So again, if you ever have a chance to get in there and look at these books, it's not just for elementary school kids. We can all really learn from it no matter what age we are. Also wanted to let you know that for best practices in research, we are always continuing, to do research into different training that's out there, also articles or anything that's coming down from the state level. That I think helps us a lot when we get inquiries from parents for us to be able to say, this is what's going on from the state level in terms of equity within the schools. In terms of turning towards July and August, like I said, Marianne Rogalski has completed the strategies for equity and dialogue, and that will be offered to teachers on August 2nd, 3rd, and 6th, along with implicit bias training. Strategies for equity and dialogue can be taken for 3 CEU credits and the implicit bias training for 4. I think if I'm correct that they're required to do 1 GD&I training a year. So Marianne shared with me this afternoon that she had just put it out there, the training link. And when we discussed when we were going to start the training, we decided, after everything all of these teachers have done this past year, to kind of give them the summer to decompress and then bring in the training in August. And she said, within this afternoon, they already had 20 teachers sign up. So thank you very much to those teachers that have signed up, and we're looking forward to the rest of you joining us as well. As Marcus said, they're going to continue with the admin book study on unconscious bias in schools. And then actually in July and August, put on by the Education Innovations and Solutions Incorporated, that's run by Dr. Lewis out of Charlotte. There's going to be a representative from the elementary school, middle school, high school, and our Board of Education at a training on engaging boys of color in schools. And so we'll be attending that training in both July and August. In terms of student development for August, as I said, they're going to be, the high school is going to be having students apply for the Diversity Council and also their club committee. In terms of best practice research, we are going to continue to research, different studies and training while also partnering with School Life Balance, which is now called TBD. So, and also working with them to develop connections for our Great Day of Service. Also, I wanted to let you guys know we did not develop a slide for today that did kind of a retrospective reflection on our goals and what we accomplished in 2021. We're going to do that for the August board meeting because at that point we will have also had a meeting to set our goals for 2022. So that will be coming your way, but we have had numerous meetings and kind of discussed what is on the forefront in terms of our goals for next year. And I can share with you one of the big ones is that we want to really get going our communication with parents and get parents engaged with GD&I, the activities we do, so they have a better understanding of what we're doing. And so family outreach is really going to be at the top of our list. And Marianne and Marcus and I will continue to meet over the summer to kind of discuss how we'll roll into that with the committee in August. So with all of that being said, Erik Erikson, who was a famous social psychologist and also did a lot of studies on identity development, said the more you know yourself, the more patience you have for what you see in others. And with that, Kurt, I wanted to kind of roll into the videos that the middle school students put together. That was like a celebration of who they are as individuals and then who the school is as a GD&I kind of culture.
Let's celebrate the diversity at LNC. What makes you unique?
Hi, my name is Leslie Cassidy, and I am a student at LNC. And I feel unique because I have an outstanding support system at home and on the sideline. Because I am a CSA soccer player, I'm DCA counselor. I travel to Kenya, Myrtle Beach, April, and even Atlanta, Georgia. And this is how I meet from other students at LNC. Hi, my name is Karen Felicia, and what makes me unique at LNC is that I come from a Christian household where we honor our mother and father and help out around the house. Growing up in my family, we are told to always go above expectations. Like if we see someone Hi, my name is Olivia Autry, and I'm a sixth grader at Lake Norman Charter Middle School. What I think makes me unique than other people at LNC is I have a really outgoing personality. But what other people don't know about me is that I can be really shy when it comes to making new friends. That's why I like to help other people by being either a psychiatrist or a cosmetologist. I would really like to go to the University of South Carolina to pursue that dream, and that's what makes me unique. Hi, my name is Maya Bradley, and I'm a sixth grader at Lake Charter School. What makes me unique is that I'm a gymnast at Everett Gymnastics level 9, and I want to go to college at UNC for gymnastics. And after that, I want to go to culinary school to pursue my dream of opening my own restaurant. And that's why I'm unique.
LMC is unique because we are the change.
We listen to and celebrate our similarities and differences.
We embrace change and endless possibilities. We accept others and keep an open mind. Our hearts are filled with love. We recognize the amazing things that are possible. We welcome everyone. Here at LMC, we stand united.
Thank you. Good token. All right, next up. I'm not sure how to say this. So project something or other unnamed.
We're gonna have a
3DS.
name
There we
soon.
go.
We're working on it.
Yeah, we'll do like a, I don't know, wordplay or something.
Yeah.
Maybe a raffle or a giveaway for us.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we're getting a meeting on the books where we can kind of brainstorm this. It's coming up soon. So for the committee, I can honestly say I'm pretty impressed by the amount of work that we've been able to get done, especially because it has not even been a skinny minute since state schools wrapped up. So there was a period of time where we were actually overlapping some of our responsibilities. So I'm pleased to say that we've done some good work in 3 strategic areas, that being the day of service, leadership in action, and then the collegiate K through 12 research. We've begun some of that. Elizabeth led up some initial meetings with the elementary, middle, and high school regarding the leadership in action. That was kind of more just a get to know you, fact finding. Where are we? Where did we leave off? Kind of starting to socialize. How do we get it, back on track? So we had some pretty productive meetings this past month regarding that. Jen is heading up the collegiate K through 12 school research, and she put her time into drafting a plan of action regarding that area, which included some objectives, some strategies, including interviews, research, focus groups, and even went so far as to identify some potential schools that we can start to look at. That was socialized within the group. We had some, good commentary, suggestions, edits to that, but it was a great start to get that going. We actually, for focus groups, and I'm going to, just today, we solidified, we actually have our first focus group on Wednesday. And that would be with a panel of 6 alumni students where we hope to talk to them about their experience, things that were beneficial while at Lake Norman Charter, things that maybe they wish they would have been a little bit better prepared for, just so we can get an understanding of what we've done well, what maybe we do well, but they might have missed, or maybe what we could provide in the future. So that again will be on Wednesday, and then not to jump ahead, but we have some tentative dates scheduled for I think one other session. We're just kind of working on solidifying that. So that should be coming up in the near future. Our day of service planning is progressing. Ms. Stein, Ms. Lay, and I had a meeting, and originally when I went into it, I was thinking we were going to target the spring, but after kind of looking at the calendar and looking at all the events going on, it was collectively decided that we would shoot for actually the fall, and Ms. Lay has tentatively scheduled a date towards the end of October for that. Because we are going to do it a little, I guess, quicker than I initially thought, we did collectively agree that for this year, as we get back into this, that we would look at the organization that we used 2 years ago. So we have contacted them and have initially booked them for the date that we are looking at. And then, you know, as we kind of get ramped back into it and then looking forward into future years, what Ridgely kind of pointed out in her slides is, you know, hopefully down the line, we can, you know, maybe start to look at partnerships with the GD&I group. If not through the day of service, we discussed possibly looking at that either through Serve 10 opportunities, but really kind of strengthening the relationship, whether again through the day of service or whether it's just opportunities that we bring to the students in a little bit more of a formal process, rather than, I think now with Serve 10, they're kind of given a list or some recommendations and then kind of go out on their own. But, you know, there might be opportunities to actually formally put something together for those that maybe aren't as proactive, I guess, in what they would choose to do. So that's kind of what's been going on. Upcoming activities, like I said, we are currently working on scheduling a date for the group to come back together with the you know, purpose to kind of solidify, you know, what our mission statement is, commit to naming our group. And we think that that will be important, certainly as we start to like roll out to the stakeholder groups. I mean, if you don't really know what you're selling yet, it's hard to sell it. So we want to make sure that, you know, we are thoughtful about our approach and really come up with something that represents what we're trying to do. In addition, we'll be scheduling a meeting with Ms. Blackwelder, who is the board representative for Leadership in Action, before she rolled off the board. So that should be coming in the very short term. A Wednesday, great, perfect. See, look at all this good stuff going on. It's like fresh off the presses. So that will be targeted for Wednesday. In addition, we'll be continuing our research with these alumni focus groups. Again, the first one is scheduled for Wednesday as well. We're going to look to target another one in June, likely. We're also looking at possibly doing a collegiate admissions panel targeted for the fall of 2021. We're socializing, maybe making that as part of one of our governance sessions. If that is not possible, we'll, you know, work around that. But something for the board to hear from admissions and to be able to ask some questions and get some understanding, kind of what that is looking like. How are things changing, especially with COVID and whatnot. In addition, the committee meeting that I was talking about, not only for the name and our mission statement, but kind of solidify our long and short-term goals. And then to kind of start identifying committee membership and when will be the right time to engage those members. You know, we have quite a few things that are rolling now, and whether that can sustain as is, or whether we need to bring in additional people, and then certainly for some of our longer term goals. For risk concerns, certainly the biggest is getting that vision and purpose solidified so that we can begin to communicate to our stakeholder groups what this group is about. And then additionally, being able to balance kind of our committee work with our school stabilization, and as we kind of transition back to a hopefully normal school year after this, you know, unprecedented year, and really working towards stakeholder re-engagement, student learning support, and all the other areas.
So I don't know if Jen and Elizabeth have anything that they would like to add or.
Just add my thanks to the teachers who took the time to speak with us and educate me, especially since I didn't have any background really in our leadership and action program. So speaking with you guys, and it was something for that time.
Thank you for that. A lot of great work in a short period of time. So, all right. Next up, we have campus master planning and elevates.
Yeah, I'll get us started. I'll let Scott and Sarah jump in where needed. Rick, whoever needs to jump in. But as of yesterday, I believe that number. Well, no, not yesterday. Thursday, we have a little over $1.1 million in Elevate in hand, which is awesome. Sarah and her team are doing a great job and still collecting daily. We are in the process right now of looking at Elevate 2.0 and how that's going to look, when we're going to roll out the next phase of our Elevate to try to finish up our Elevate campaign, which would be the field house. So I sat down with Sarah last week and we brainstormed, and then Shannon, Sarah, and myself sat down again today for a little bit and brainstormed, and we're hopefully going to come back to the board in July with a plan of what Elevate 2.0 will look like, as far as rolling it out to our families and trying to move forward with completing the Elevate campaign this upcoming school year. Sarah, am I missing anything? Awesome. The two summer projects we're bringing to the board tonight are the middle school carpool improvements, so taking care of the carpool pavement. I'm sure those who have middle schoolers have driven that all school, well, not all, but this part of the school year, it's a mess. It needs to be cleaned up after last year's project. So we're looking to get that underway starting tomorrow if we get approval. That money would be coming out of the Camp X fund money. So that is something that has been budgeted for. We knew this was going to come with or without this project that we did this past year. That carpool lane, we're starting to get beat up just with years of just wear and tear. So I think obviously with the project we did, it made that timeline a little bit faster, but it is definitely time to repave and then restripe everything around the carpool up top. Shannon, if you want to go back up top. You guys can take a look at some of those areas that are pretty bad. We're going to put the 4 squares back in, the numbers back in, so it's going to look fresh and everything's going back in for pavement. So that is our first project. And like I said, the money would be coming out of the Camp X fund. Our second project would be getting rid of those awful porta potties that we have and breaking through into the bathrooms actually that are right here on the other side of us. So we'll be moving those AC units, which are old and about to fail anyways, hopefully. We are trying to fix the problem before it actually happens. We'll be moving them down a little bit, and then we'll be breaking through the wall, and we'll be utilizing those bathrooms for game day, for recess, or whatever it may be. The students and the fans can just enter those bathrooms and be able to use those instead of the porta potty. We will be putting a gate on this side, which, if you guys look, that would be right outside the door. So that means during the game, fans and people would not be able to enter the building. They would just be able to use bathrooms. So that project we would like to get underway within the next couple of days, a week after they're done with paving, and hopefully have that ready to go by school time.
Like, what, I can't picture a gate. Like, what do you mean by it? Just, I got it.
So those bathrooms, I know ultimately we want to do the field house, and that's not going to change what we're thinking here. The field house is going to take about a year once we get the money in hand. So we're thinking putting these bathrooms in as a long term. Those can be used for recess. Those can be used for, we have a staff gathering, whatever it may be. Those bathrooms, that entrance is actually not. That's something we can use long term.
And then Scott, could you talk a little bit about the improvements to the air conditioning units and in addition to them having to be moved, but why that's important as part of our COVID efforts?
Sure. So it's actually interesting that the 3 units that are going to be shifted and moved actually feed the space we're in right now. So those 3 units feed this large space and those offices and that back space back there. The expected life of those units is about 15 years, and we're at 13 and a half. So when Haley brought to our attention that, hey, we might be able to get some of this ESSER money, this COVID money to help cover the cost of these units, well, let's dive in and look at it. And if you're going to do the upgrade to the unit, why would you do an upgrade to a unit that's going to die in 2 years potentially? So that's when we looked at, well, would they cover the cost, the potential cost of not only upgrading the unit to deal with some of the viruses and things that could spread to the building, but also to replace the unit. So you're actually starting out fresh, new, clean. You've got the latest, greatest that you can put into a building. So that's what we looked at. We went out, got 3 bids, did everything we had to do to be compliant with this money that we could potentially receive to cover the cost of these units. So basically what we're going with a bipolar ionization system that would basically kill all viruses and bacteria that would pass through the system, would make this whole space, being a larger gathering space, fresh, free of viruses not being spread throughout the air conditioning system.
And the AC in this building and heating, and Scott can go into greater depth, it's kind of unusual. Every classroom has its own unit. And so what we did when COVID happened is Scott and his team worked on upgrading all of the filters to the highest level they could. So within the classrooms, they've had the highest level they could. But in these central spaces, this is an area where we could see even greater improvement. So it played well with this project, but we're going to be looking at a couple other units here on campus. I don't remember the exact amount, but several other older units that could be also have this ionization unit that could help to diminish pathogens in the air.
So essentially all the common areas is what we're going to be looking at. We put a priority on this because obviously we want to get this done. But as part of this ESSER 3 money, we're also going to be looking at all the common areas, the gyms, the cafeteria, and some of the older units that we have is let's get those replaced and upgraded so these bigger common areas will be safer, cleaner for our students and anybody that visits our campus.
So with this 55,000 cover all?
That just covers just the units for this room, those 3 units you see there. But part of what we're going to be doing to help Haley put together this submittal for ESSER 3 money is we actually have vendors coming in to bid the rest remaining the units. So I believe it's a total of 8 outside of this. This is tremendous because you can see it's not inexpensive to do. It's a very big task. And it's not something that would normally be part of our capital expenditure budget, but if we can go ahead and get it covered, why not? Let's go ahead and do it.
And just to reiterate, the need for this is because we have to break up.
They're paying for the porta potties and taking.
John,
So we'll keep it above board. All right. Okay. Anything else from campus master planning? That's it. All right. Thank you. All right. So next up, new business, which will sound remarkably similar to what we just talked about. So we have 2 proposals. We'll start with the first one, which is the carpool repaving, which Scott, keep me honest, I believe that's the contract I have here in front of me, $123,160.
That's correct.
Thank you, sir. All right, so we need a motion to approve.
Elizabeth, I'll move to approve that contract. Jen, I'll second it.
Thank you, ladies. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, and next up, we have the middle school activity bathroom upgrade, which is a, got the number off the top of your head.
Which one is that? I'm sorry.
The
88,781.
Which would be the contractor portion. It's $88,000 essentially in total.
Yeah.
Between the HVAC vendor and the GC.
This is Jared. I'll move to approve the expenses for the new AC units and the restroom improvement.
This is Leslie, I second.
Thank you. Any other questions, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. We're out. So, Ms. Painter, would you like to do the honors to close us out?
Yay,
please?
I was hoping to. I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Elizabeth, I'll
The
second.
last time, my last motion.
All right. Any other questions, further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Adjourn, thank you.